My dear friends, 6 keynotes for the speech unusual opposition before elevation before the breakthrough. You will often face pressure, resistance, and confusion not because God has left, but because He's about to lift you. Silence that feels like abandonment. God may go quiet, but He's never absent. His silence is often a setup for a sudden shift. Doors closing that don't make sense when God shuts doors. It's not rejection, it's redirection to something greater. Hidden preparation in the dark, just like a seed in the soil. Growth happens in hidden places before it's seen in public. Stripping away of comfort and control, God often removes the crutches before promotion because your next level requires total trust. Supernatural clarity and divine encounters before the breakthrough. Expect to receive clarity, a word, or even a divine confirmation that things are about to change. Intro/ductwork, part of the speech most engaging. Have you ever felt like everything around you was falling apart? Right after you decided to trust God, like the moment you got serious about your calling, all hell broke loose. Friend, that's not a coincidence, that's confirmation. What if I told you that what you're facing right now is not a sign of failure, but a sign that your breakthrough is closer than you think? Before every major move of God, something strange happens. He tests you, shapes you, and prepares you in ways you may not understand in the moment. But when you look back, you'll see the fingerprints of God all over your story. So don't walk away too early. Don't give up too soon. Watch this message till the end, because you need to understand the signs that God is showing you right now before your breakthrough arrives. Before your breakthrough, God before breakthrough, signs before breakthrough. God is working behind the scenes. Spiritual breakthrough, signs of spiritual breakthrough, God's timing, God's plan, God's silence before breakthrough, trusting God in hard times. God is preparing you. God is testing you. Divine preparation, how God prepares us. Breakthrough is near. Signs God is about to bless you. God will show you God's divine plan, delayed not denied, spiritual delays, God's process, spiritual preparation, wilderness season, spiritual pruning, waiting on God when God is silent, trusting God. Silence, breakthrough season, faith under fire, pressure before promotion. God is shaping you. God removes to replace unexpected doors, divine alignment, spiritual warfare before blessing. God is working in silence, hidden season, preparation season. Breakthrough is coming. God is faithful. Next level anointing, pain before purpose. God speaks in silence, silent seasons when God closes doors. God's plan is bigger. Hold on, God is coming. Prophetic breakthrough. God's hand is on you. Victory is near. Don't give up, God is working. Spiritual storm. God fights your battles. Tests before elevation, divine shaking, divine delay when it gets worse before it gets better. Signs from God, God is moving, God's confirmation, spiritual testing, faith test, anointed but hidden, hidden before released, God protects and hides, spiritual warfare, kingdom elevation, God's strategy, when Enemy attacks, divine breakthrough signs, God's divine shift, elevation season, pain to purpose, fire before glory, blessing after pain. Stay faithful, God sees, supernatural breakthrough, you're not forgotten by God. God hasn't left you, divine intervention, divine process, before God moves behind the scenes. God's timing is perfect, prophetic shift. This is your season. Hold on, God is near. God sees your struggle. God hears your cry. Faith journey. God's not done. It's coming soon. Faith before sight. Obedience in dark. When you feel nothing, God is still with you. The valley season. Wilderness test. Refining fire when it feels hopeless. Spiritual turnaround. Heavenly breakthrough. Miracle season. God is molding you. God's breakthrough signs, sudden turnaround, divine miracle signs, preparation before purpose. God is testing your faith, spiritual pressure. God allows storms. Kingdom purpose, destiny alignment, divine redirection, spiritual waiting season, signs of God's next move, new level, new devil. God's grace is coming. God's answer is near. God is faithful in silence, spiritual resistance, when breakthrough feels delayed, standing in faith, spiritual battle signs. Spiritual elevation, God reveals before release. God's plan unfolds. God will make a way. Step into breakthrough. God is pruning you. Divine timing, divine season. Promotion from God. You're almost there. Shift is coming. Spiritual elevation signs. Signs you're close to breakthrough. Before blessing comes battle. Tests before breakthrough. God whispers in pain, your miracle is near. God's hidden ways, obedience unlocks blessing. Last test before elevation. Divine silence, when breakthrough is near. Glory after testing. God's confirmation signs, unseen preparation. The pain has purpose, waiting on divine timing. God's delays are not denials. Holding on to God, season of stretching. It's worth the wait. You're on the verge. Breakthrough pain. Final test of faith. Signs of elevation. When you feel stuck, God is working. Spiritual journey keywords. Breakthrough faith walk. Faith under pressure. God's hidden presence. Hidden before release, warfare before destiny, refining before promotion, signs God is testing you, surrender before shift. God is doing something new, you're not abandoned, spiritual confirmation, destiny at the door, shift in the spirit, divine resistance, trusting God's way. You're in God's hands, miracle is close. God is not finished, walking through fire. Faith for breakthrough, divine silence meaning, hold on a little longer. Breakthrough is yours, don't quit now. God's about to move, He's working it out. Faith breakthrough journey. When it feels like nothing is happening, it's part of God's plan, divine obstacles, holding on in faith. Keep trusting God. Walk by faith, not by sight. God's about to show up. Don't stop praying. Break through pain signals. This is the final stretch. God's promise is true. Trust the process. God is stretching you. Hold on, breakthrough near. God will reveal soon. You're closer than you think. Obedience brings breakthrough. Keep believing God. Heaven is moving, it's already in motion. Faith ahead of breakthrough, kingdom breakthrough, spirit-led breakthrough, patience before purpose. God uses brokenness, divine silence explained, broken before breakthrough, pressure before greatness. God is near to brokenhearted, final hour blessing, breakthrough out of nowhere, God's silent treatment, spiritual lesson in silence, peace in waiting, God's purpose for pain, hidden grace, your being refined, molding season. God is not ignoring you, you're being built. God's divine strategy, time of testing, inner breakthrough, shift happening, kingdom setup, God's shift in motion. God's silence means He's working. Trust His silence. God's pruning season, when blessings are held back. God is shaping your destiny. Hold on, breakthrough near. Faith breakthrough keywords. Signs God is building you. You're almost through it. God will deliver. Your prayers are heard. Pain with purpose, prophetic waiting before your blessing. God hears your silence, divine molding. God's process keywords. Before manifestation, your breakthrough season, divine peace. God behind the curtain, breakthrough transformation. God's favor is coming, walking into destiny. God is preparing the way, prophetic timing, blessings under pressure. This is just a test, God's training ground, kingdom breakthrough moment. You're God's chosen, divine sequence, faith in dark times. God won't fail you, something big is coming. Stay planted in God, don't lose hope now. The shift is happening, walking into new season, step into your calling. God is opening doors, kingdom timing, power in stillness, warfare and waiting. God prepares in silence, the shift is spiritual. God has not forgotten you. Faith that sees, walking through delay, endurance before elevation, hidden for a purpose. You're almost out, you're at the edge, don't stop short, last mile miracle, final test before next level. God is watching. You grow, breakthrough beyond the silence. God's got you covered, miracle in process. Grace before glory, obey and wait. Your destiny awaits, don't settle here. Transformation in the waiting. Be still, breakthrough is near. God's word is final, endurance rewarded. Next step is glory, hold on, shift. He's here, open your eyes, break through near. Storm before the calm, miracle loading. Your answer is coming. Stay on the path. God goes before you, and hundreds more woven around the central theme. What happens before your break? Through signs before your breakthrough from God, how to know you're close to a breakthrough before your break. Through God will test you what to expect before your break. Through God's silence before your breakthrough, how God prepares you before your break. Through spiritual signs before your breakthrough, God is quiet before your break. Through emotional pressure before your breakthrough, how to act before your break. Through what God shows you before your break. Through how Satan attacks before your breakthrough, does it get harder before your break. Through spiritual warfare before breakthrough, why life gets harder before your break. Through why God stays silent before break. Through how to stay strong before break, through pain before purpose and break, through what to pray before your breakthrough, mindset before your break, through faith before your break, through divine Confirmation before break, through what God is doing before your break, through delay before divine break, through fear before your break, through season, signs, prophetic word before break, through God speaks quietly before break, through fire, content, ideas, blog, YouTube, reels, 7 signs, right before your breakthrough. Why the enemy fights hardest before your breakthrough. God will test you before your breakthrough. Don't quit. This happens right before God opens the door. Before your breakthrough, the pain has a purpose. Before your break, through a word of encouragement. Search intent motivational seekers looking for hope during hard times, Christians seeking biblical context for suffering or delay, people praying and waiting for a sign from God, viewers wondering if their struggle has spiritual meaning, audience looking for faith-based advice to endure setbacks, tag suggestions before your breakthrough, breakthrough signs, spiritual breakthrough, God before blessing, signs God is near, God's timing, spiritual waiting, don't give up now, breakthrough encouragement, prophetic timing related long tail keywords, what God does before your break, through how God prepares you before breakthrough, God's role before the breakthrough, spiritual signs God gives before break. Through God moves in silence before breakthrough, when God is quiet before breakthrough, God is near before break. Through how God tests you before breakthrough, signs God is working before breakthrough, when God hides you before break. Through God's silence before promotion, things God removes before breakthrough, God closes doors before break. Through God isolates you before your break. Through God's protection before your breakthrough, when God delays your breakthrough for growth divine. Process before breakthrough, God is strengthening you before break. Through God's plan unfolds before break. Through what God reveals before your break. Through God allows pain before breakthrough, God is with you before your blessing, how God purifies you before break. Through God separates you before breakthrough, when God strips things away before break. Through God is working behind the scenes before your break. Through fire, and ideas, 5 things God does before your break, through that you didn't notice. God is quiet, but he's still working what happens before breakthrough. When God seems distant, he's actually closest to your breakthrough. God's silence doesn't mean he's absent, it means you're closer than ever. Don't panic. This is what God does before your big breakthrough. The process before the promise, how God moves right before breakthrough. Search intent, people feeling abandoned by God but seeking hope, Christians trying to discern spiritual signals, viewers looking for answers during tough seasons, believers struggling with spiritual delay and discouragement, motivational seekers needing reassurance that God is active behind the scenes. Bible verses to support this keyword: Isaiah 55, 8-9, my thoughts are not your thoughts. Romans 8:28, God works all things together for good. James 1, 3-4, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Deuteronomy 31, 6, he will never leave you nor forsake you. Habakkuk 2, 3, though it tarry, wait for it. Tag suggestions, God before breakthrough. God is working in silence, divine preparation, God's test. God in waiting season, spiritual breakthrough coming. God's delay is not denial. What God does before blessing, prophetic waiting, spiritual transformation related long. Tail keywords, what are signs before a breakthrough? Spiritual signs before a breakthrough. Signs God gives before a breakthrough. Biblical signs before your breakthrough. Emotional signs before breakthrough. How to recognize signs of breakthrough. Prophetic signs before breakthrough. Signs you're in a breakthrough season. Things that happen before your breakthrough. Supernatural signs before a break through. Signs of spiritual warfare before breakthrough. Patterns before God moves. Divine signals. Breakthrough is coming. Signs you are close to your breakthrough. How to discern breakthrough signs. Signs from God before blessing. Spiritual clues you're near breakthrough. Dream signs before break through. Things God shows you before promotion. God's way of confirming breakthrough. Warning signs before elevation. Transition signs before breakthrough. Confirmation signs from heaven. Unusual events before spiritual breakthrough. Discomfort before breakthrough. Restlessness before breakthrough. Content, ideas, videos, articles, social posts. 7 clear signs you're on the edge of a breakthrough. Before breakthrough, watch for these 5 unmistakable signs. Don't miss these spiritual signs God gives right before a breakthrough. Why life feels chaotic, it's one of the signs before breakthrough. If you're seeing these signs, your breakthrough is closer than you think. God is showing you the way. Here's how to recognize the signs. Search intent. Viewers searching for spiritual clarity in a time of uncertainty. People seeking encouragement and affirmation. Believers questioning if what they're feeling is from God. Christians looking for faith based interpretation of life events. Searchers curious about what to expect just before a blessing. Emotional triggers curiosity. Am I close to a breakthrough? Hope. God is actually doing something in this pain. Validation. I'm not crazy. God is preparing me. Urgency. I need to hold on just a little longer. Empowerment. I now recognize the signs. Supporting Bible verses. Galatians 6:9. Do not grow weary in doing good. Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I am doing a new thing. 2 Corinthians 4:17. Our light affliction is working for us. Job 23:10. He knows the way I take when he has tested me. 1 Peter 5:10. After you have suffered a little while. Tag suggestions. Signs before breakthrough. God is about to bless you. How to know breakthrough is near. Prophetic confirmation. God's signs for you. Spiritual breakthrough season. God's timing signs. Heaven is speaking. Breakthrough indicators before the blessing related long. Tail keyword signs. God is working behind the scenes. How to know God is working behind the scenes when God is silent. He's working. God moves in silence. God is working. When you don't see it, God behind the scenes. Scripture. God is working even when life is hard. How to trust God behind the scenes. God is doing something unseen. God is orchestrating things behind closed doors. God's hidden plan is working. When nothing makes sense, God is working divine behind the scenes activity. God is silently preparing you. God moves in mystery. God aligns things silently. Faith. When God is quiet, trust God even when you can't trace him. Unseen blessings are being prepared. God's invisible hand. God is setting things up. Spiritual meaning of God working silently. God working in delays, God's perfect timing behind the scenes. God is setting the stage for your breakthrough. If you feel forgotten, God is working behind the scenes. When God is silent, He's working the hardest. 3 ways God works behind the scenes in your life. Why you must trust God's silence, He's working. How to stay encouraged when God seems absent. You're not stuck, God is moving behind the curtain. Search intent people seeking hope when life feels stagnant, Christians wondering why prayers aren't answered, individuals confused by God's silence or lack of visible signs, viewers searching for motivational faith-based reassurance, those facing uncertainty or delay in life's plans, emotional triggered comfort. Even though I don't see it, He's working. Faith, I'm learning to trust the invisible. Relief, God hasn't left me after all. Encouragement, my current struggle is part of a bigger setup. Motivation, it's all coming together behind the scenes. Supporting Bible verses, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good. John 13:7, you do not realize now what I am doing. Isaiah 55:9, my ways are higher than your ways. Psalm 121:4, he who watches over you will not slumber. Philippians 1:6, he who began a good work in you will carry it on. Tag suggestions, God is working behind the scenes. Trust God's silence, God's hidden plan, faith in the unseen. God is still moving when you don't see progress. Divine setup, spiritual encouragement, trusting the process. God's timing is perfect, related long. Tail keywords, what it spiritual warfare before break. Through spiritual warfare, signs before a break. Through attacks, increase before break. Through demonic resistance before promotion. Spiritual battle before blessings, how the enemy fights before break. Through warfare, season before elevation. Spiritual attacks increase before breakthrough. Why life feels chaotic before break. Through enemy distractions before God's move. The devil attacks harder before blessings. Pressure before break. Through spiritual meaning, spiritual resistance before break. Through signs of warfare before blessing. Battling demons before purpose. Spiritual conflict before next level, faith battle before reward, Satan attacks purpose before birth, spiritual war before open doors, warfare and destiny, how to fight spiritual warfare, prayers during spiritual warfare, Bible verses for spiritual warfare, staying strong during spiritual attacks, how to endure spiritual warfare, recognizing spiritual warfare before your break through fire and ideas YouTube podcast, reels why all hell breaks loose before your breakthrough. 7 signs you're in spiritual warfare right before God promotes you. The enemy always fights hardest before the breakthrough. How to recognize and win spiritual warfare before your big blessing. Don't quit, that's not stress, it's spiritual warfare. Before the breakthrough, the battle intensifies as search intent people facing extreme emotional/mental pressure, seeking spiritual explanation, Christians struggling with resistance before something new starts, believers researching how to identify and overcome spiritual warfare, viewers needing strength and perspective during spiritual attack, Those feeling discouraged or under attack, but suspecting a breakthrough is near emotional triggers urgency. I need to fight through this, it's spiritual. Awareness, now I understand why things got worse suddenly. Encouragement, this battle is proof that I'm close. Empowerment, I'm not under attack because I'm weak, but because I'm chosen. Readiness, now I can prepare and pray intentionally. Supporting Bible verses Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. 2 Corinthians 10:4, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Isaiah 59:19, when the enemy comes in like a flood. James 4:7, resist the devil, and he will flee. 1 Peter 5:8-10, be sober, be vigilant. Tag suggestions, spiritual warfare. Before breakthrough, signs of spiritual attack, spiritual battle signs, devil fights before blessing, spiritual resistance before purpose, prayer warfare, God's plan vs enemy attacks, don't quit breakthrough near, God will deliver you, victory through spiritual warfare, related long, tail keyword, why God is silent before breakthrough. God goes silent before blessing. What God's silence means. God's silence is not God's absence. Does God stop speaking before breakthrough? God's quietness before big blessing. God's silence is preparation. God stops talking before the next level. God's silence before purpose, spiritual meaning of God's silence when God is quiet during waiting season. God tests you through silence, how to trust God's silence, hearing nothing from God, why God is silent in suffering. God is working even in silence. When God is quiet, stay faithful, waiting on God in silence, what to do. When God is silent, silence of God before open door, divine silence before promotion. God hides before he reveals. God is quiet, but not absent. No answer is still an answer. God's silence means trust me, silence before spiritual shift fire. Content ideas, YouTube, reels, podcasts, blogs. God is silent. Because you're closer than you think. Why God stops speaking right before your breakthrough. If God is quiet, don't panic, it's a setup. God's silence is preparation, not rejection. 5 reasons why you haven't heard from God yet. When God is silent, trust the process. Search intent. Christians who feel abandoned or unsure of God's presence, people waiting for direction but experiencing spiritual silence, believers trying to interpret spiritual dry seasons, viewers who have prayed and fasted but still feel stuck, faith driven audiences looking for divine perspective during quietness, emotional triggers, reassurance. God is still there, even when quiet. Peace, I don't have to hear to trust. Hope, this silence has a holy purpose. Reflection, am I being prepared through stillness? Encouragement, God's silence is part of the story. Supporting Bible verses Job 23, 8-10, I go forward, but he is not there. Yet he knows the way I take. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Isaiah 30:15, in quietness and trust shall be your strength. Lamentations 3:26, it is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Habakkuk 2:3, though it linger, wait for it. Tag suggestions, God. Silence before breakthrough. Trust God in silence. God is still there. Quiet season with God. When God doesn't answer, waiting on God. Spiritual silence. God is quiet but working. Divine stillness. Faith in the silent.